Welcome to the Time Capsule Show, where we explore life in the 21st century through the eyes of people just like you and me. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Monica.
Today we have current Fordham Law student and reigning Miss Five Boroughs affiliated with the Miss America organization. Please welcome Sydney Park. Welcome, Sydney. We're also happy to have you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Vanessa and Monica, for having me.
Of course. So can you tell our viewers a little bit more about what you do and what inspired you to pick your current profession?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a profession that I didn't know I wanted to be a part of for the longest time. I actually, when I was little, I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. I loved the ocean. I thought I was going to be on boats and doing scientific experiments. So that's what I thought I was going to be. And then I realized I really didn't actually like science or studying science or the scientific process. So I said, okay, maybe not a marine biologist. And my mom suggested, she thought I would be a great pediatrician. So then that became something that I wanted to do for a while. And then I really remembered that I really don't like science. And I was like, all right, maybe not pediatrician. And so I started really focusing on the things that I did really like, because I had so far spent my life kind of deciding what I didn't like and what I didn't want to pursue a career in. And I was kind of like, I like writing, I like speaking, I like working with people. Like, what are careers that reflect those values and those skills? And I was like, all right, well, I could be a teacher, or I could be a politician or a policymaker. And what I kept coming back to was I really liked the client aspect, and I really liked having someone to be working for and providing services for. And so lawyer was something that kind of I stumbled upon. No one in my family is a lawyer. I am the first one to go to law school and to pursue this career path. So it was a little bit like, oh, I have the ability to do this. I have the interest to do it. I might as well try my hand at it. So after I graduated from Columbia, I went to Skadden to work for a year as a legal practice assistant. So I was basically assisting attorneys in their different types of work. And although I didn't like the work of being a legal assistant, I really liked the stuff that the attorneys themselves were doing. And so that was something that really inspired me to really pursue law school, was that experience of seeing what the life of an attorney really looked like. And so that's kind of where I ended up in law school.
So do you have like a niche, like real estate attorney or like criminal justice attorney? Which one is your favorite?
Right now, I am leaning towards being just general litigation attorney working at a firm, hopefully a big New York City firm. I am working this summer at a firm called Baker Hostetler. They are best known for handling the Bernie Madoff litigation. So they handle all of that. And they've been handling it for the past upwards of a decade. And so it's really cool to be working at a place like that. And hopefully that's the type of place that I'll be working at after graduation, doing that kind of work.
So what would you say your day-to-day routine is like as a litigation lawyer?
Yeah, so I mean, based on my understanding of what that looks like, litigation attorneys handle a myriad cases. It can be anything from a contractual dispute to landlord-tenant to different issues that come up with shareholders and stockholders, and all of those interesting things that you will see in courthouses, but also things that get settled behind the scenes. And so you're handling probably a variety of cases throughout the day. So it's always something new. It's always something different. And one of the things that I really like about litigation is it really requires you to be very good at researching, very good at writing, very good at presenting complex legal issues in a way that people who are not in the legal profession can understand. I interned for 2 judges over the course of the past 2 years, which was a really enlightening experience to see the variety of cases that come into a courthouse. But even those cases are few and far between, because most of these disputes that you'll see by the work of very, very experienced, intelligent attorneys get settled outside of the courthouse, and we don't actually have to go to judges because we just can figure it out on our own. And I think that's a really cool thing, because a lot of people think like, oh, lawyers arguing in front of a judge, oral arguments, and they kind of put those two things together, when in reality, it's so much more than that. And it's a lot of it's a lot of negotiation, it's a lot of skill, it's a lot of ability to find common ground, which I think is something people don't necessarily associate with lawyers. They think arguing, they think anger, they think conflict, when in reality, it's really about being a people person and able to find a place where you two can agree and come to a settlement and come to kind of a place where both of you can walk away and be like, all right, this is okay.
So, can you disclose what your favorite case so far was, or is that like you
I
can't do?
can't really talk about that. I do think one thing that I witnessed at the courthouse that I really liked um, was one of the things that I really liked with working at the courthouse was seeing the level of skill that came before our chambers and before our judge. In general terms, there were a variety of issues that come up in New York Supreme Court, and to see the flexibility of these attorneys to talk about these really complex legal issues and to talk about them in different contexts and different circumstances, and to see how they individually used case law to support their own points of view and their argument in a way that was successful, in a way that was persuasive, was a really exciting part of my job as a legal intern at the New York State Supreme Court.
So, Sydney, if you were pursuing a different path, what would you be doing and why? I know you mentioned marine biologist and pediatrician, but was there anything else that was on your plate?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that, and maybe, I maybe will never close off this path because I think that the greatest gift we can give other people is education. And I think providing that kind of insight is so important. I think if I had gone any other route, I probably would have become a teacher. I think that the work that teachers do is just so important, and it's so incredible and empowering to see them day in and day out going and forming each and every one of us, because I think every one of us can point to a teacher or someone in our life who has really shaped us into the person that we are currently. So I think that teachers, and I think I don't know if I'd be any good at being a teacher because I think it's really hard to be a good teacher. And I'm so fortunate that I've had so many in my life. But to be one and to be a successful one would be the honor of a lifetime, definitely.
Now, would you be like secondary education, childhood education, primary school?
Oh, I think I'd probably want to get in there in like secondary education, high school. I think I'm hip enough to talk to high schoolers.
So, more so like what subject would you teach?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have always really liked history and I've always really liked English. And I think those are two reasons why I became a law student and I'm looking forward to becoming a lawyer, because those two things really play into the legal world. You have your history because you have to understand the background of these things that you're arguing, and you have to understand how they came to be. And history plays such an important role in the dynamics of our legal institutions. And then English, of course, because I mean, you have to be able to write, you have to be able to read comprehensively. And so those skills are so important. But moreover, I think history was always fascinating to me. Seeing these common threads that go throughout the course and bend of history are so fascinating to see how they reflect in today, how we ourselves are reflections of things that came before us is a really interesting topic of study.
That's very interesting. Um, so seeing that I also called you the reigning Miss Five Boroughs, do you mind also elaborating more about either the Miss New York and Miss America organization for maybe those who have not even heard of it before?
Yeah, definitely. So, really exciting. Miss America is going into its 100th year this year. So, we'll be crowning our 100th celebration Miss America this fall/winter. I'm not sure if they've announced a date yet. I should look into that. But the Miss America organization has been around for 100 years. It is the largest provider of women's scholarships across the country. They provide scholarships to local, state, and now the national title holder. You can compete at a local competition based on where you live, where you study, or where you work. And then once you're awarded a local title, you can go and compete at your state level and vie for the job of the state title holder, who then goes on to represent her state at the Miss America competition. It is a really fun organization to be a part of. It is a combination of volunteer work, of women's empowerment, of education, of scholarship, of business. It's a really interesting way to flex all of the different muscles that that you have, in terms of, you have to be able to network, you have to have time for volunteering, you have to keep up with your studies, you also have to make sure that you're making appearances, and how are you engaging with your community. So it's a lot of different things wrapped into one. Being a local title holder is so much fun. I volunteer weekly with my South Bronx United soccer team. I'm a soccer coach. I support girls and women's in sports. It's so much fun to get to play soccer with them every Saturday. I am going to start being a coach with City in the Community, which is the nonprofit arm of NYCFC, which is our MLS team in the city. And they'd have a program called Friday Night Lights, and it's a really great program where they get students and young people from the Harlem area to come out and play soccer in places where they might otherwise not have been able to, which is so great, because I think sports is just a great place for kids to express themselves and really just have an outlet, creative and emotional outlet, and physical too. And it's just a really great program that I'm excited to be a part of. But yeah, being a title holder is a lot of fun. I go and compete for the title of Miss New York at the end of May, so I'm super excited, a little nervous, but as long as I can walk away with a few extra scholarship dollars to help pay off law school, that'd be great.
um, I'm sure that being involved with the Miss New York organization has helped you build skills that actually helps you with being a lawyer, probably. Is that?
Well, definitely. And that's the thing that I really like about the Miss America and Miss New York organization, is people kind of think of these competitions and they're like, oh, pageants. And it's almost like a recoil, because you think of like, oh, they're just a bunch of bimbo headed ninnies who are wearing gowns. And that's not what it is at all. If anything, the Miss New York organization prepared me to be a lawyer in ways that I would have never been prepared. I can answer questions eloquently and quickly. I can think of things on the fly. I am required to be flexible and able to make plans and create really dynamic business strategies. And so all of those things really help in any profession and in any career. And so I think what you get out of the Miss New York and Miss America organization are a bunch of women who have life skills and professional skills that so many other people miss out on. And I think that these are the type of leaders that are really going to move and shake the world. And I'm excited to see where all of them end up and where they end up going.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, out of all the phases that you have experienced so far, like interview, onstage question, talent, social initiative, and like social impact initiative, excuse me, and which one is your personal favorite and why?
Ooh, I really like my talent. So I like on-stage interview and I like interview. Those two are probably the most nerve-wracking portions of competition. My hands are often very sweaty beforehand. If anyone's ever held my hand afterward, they're like, "Oh man, Sydney, your hands are very clammy." But I think talent is my favorite. So I do original spoken word poetry, which is not a talent that you see often. You'll see a lot of dancing and singing, but poetry and monologue are not talents that you see very often. And the reason why I like my talent so much is not only because I'm a writer and I love to write, but also it's a very personal reason too. It's my grandparents are from Korea. They emigrated to the United States barely speaking English, and now their granddaughter, just two generations later, performs on stage poetry. And to have that mastery of a language that they barely knew, I think is just a testament to the progress that their family made based on the sacrifices that they made in coming to this country in the first place.
so what many people may not know is that I actually met you through the local organization itself. So, and I remember that your monologue was actually like you killed it, absolutely killed it. Your monologue said that was very impressive.
Thank you.
um, if I may ask, like, how many times a day would you practice your talent mostly for preparing a local
Ooh,
and for a state?
yeah, I mean, for local, I'll practice it probably once or twice a week beforehand just so that I can stay with it. But I will practice leading up to states. I'll dedicate quite a few hours beforehand to getting it right because you want it to be clean and you want to practice so hard that you practice and you never will get it wrong. My partner will hear me walking around our apartment muttering to myself as I'm just going through the words. He's like, "You sound like a crazy person." Because I am. But I'll just go over the words again and again and again, and I'll even do the hand motions, which also makes me look a little crazy, like I'm talking to myself. I am, but it really helps, and it's one of those things. It's like you don't want to get on stage and wing it. But you do want to practice and put the time in because it's well worth it to have, especially with a monologue or a spoken word poetry piece, like you want it to land because it's meant to hit certain notes, it's meant to engage the audience, it's meant to tell a story and elicit certain emotions. And if you haven't practiced where you want those notes to hit, where you want those moments to land, like you're not going to get that, and the audience is going to miss out on a large portion of the piece.
You actually mentioned something about like empowerment, meeting other people, networking. I do agree, like wholeheartedly. Like based on the experience that I had, I haven't been with the organization for very long, but out of my personal experience, definitely, like even out of that short time, you actually meet a lot of people in that short span of time, and basically, like these girls are so amazing and like also friendly. Like it's like they actually help you with the, like bouncing ideas. Like and I don't know. It's a very strong sisterhood sense within the whole organization itself. So I kind of agree when you mentioned that before.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And what we say often is like, you don't need to have a local title to be a part of this organization.
Right.
Like, everyone who's ever competed, everyone who's ever taken the risk to try, like, we welcome into this sisterhood and into this network of Miss New York and Miss America title holders. Like, we love everyone who comes through, title or no title, sash or no sash. And it is really true. People are often confused and confounded a little bit. So they're like, well, aren't you guys competing against each other? Like, don't you hate each other? Isn't it competitive?
No.
And yes, it is competitive. But I think there's something to be said for the fact that there are spaces in this world where women can be competitive and be their best selves and be everything and authentically themselves, and still support and empower one another. I am fully for the idea that we don't lose anything by giving support to someone else, by lifting someone else up. Like, it doesn't make us any lower, it doesn't
That's true.
sink us any lower to lift someone up. And so I think that that's one of the great things that I've gotten from this organization is just as I've tried to lift other people up, like they lifted me up too when I've needed
Hmm.
it and when I have done things. And it's just a really great support system to feel like all of us are working towards a common goal of doing good. All of us are working in our communities to give some positivity back and make the world a little better. And so to support one another in doing that, I think is just moving all of us towards just a better world and a better community.
So now we're at the segment of the show we like to call past, present, and future, where we'll be exploring three different periods of your life. How do you see yourself now, and how does it compare to the person you were 5 years ago?
Ooh, I like this question a lot, because I like myself a lot more now than I think I liked myself 5 years ago, which I think goes for a lot of people in their 20s, unfortunately. Because I think, when you're in college and you're ending in high school, you're still trying to find yourself and you're still trying to figure out like who you are. And for a lot of my life, I define myself based on the people I surrounded myself with, and also the fact that a lot of the time I found myself pretty alone. And so that lack of people that I surround myself with, I thought defined me as a person. And I thought that it was a negative thing because I was like, wow, no one likes me. This is horrible. I am just not a likable person. And it was a really dark and sad time in my life. And that was in high school, where I just kind of felt like I didn't have anyone. And I think that that's true for a lot of people in high school, is like you feel really alone, and that can be a really tough thing to feel. And so I struggled with that for a while. And then one of the things that I left high school with was this idea that, like, if you're not invited to the party, then throw your own party and be your own biggest cheerleader, because people are attracted to that kind of confidence. People are attracted to that kind of self worth. And so, that, even though I had to fake it for a while, I think that that ultimately led me to really be okay with who I am in solitude and who I am by myself. And finding that self confidence was a really hard journey, but it was also a really worthwhile one, because I came out of high school feeling like I was okay with myself. And sure, it took time after that as well, and through college, to really figure out who I was outside of just me, and who I was on my own in college, because I was so far away from my parents for the first time. And to figure all that out was a journey in and of itself. And so I think over the past 5 years has really been an exploration of like self love and self acceptance, and coming to a place where I get to feel confident in who I am and who I am becoming, which I think is really important, and feeling like you're finally on a path that you're happy about and that you're satisfied with. And knowing that there are so many great things to come is a really exciting place to be in life.
And how do you think things will be in the next 5 years for you?
Ooh, well, in the next 5 years, I will have graduated law school. I'll graduate next year, so that'll be exciting. I will have hopefully passed the bar and be
Ah.
admitted to practice in New York State, which would be really nice. And then after that, I'm hoping to, work as a lawyer. I am hoping to be a really big supporter of the Miss New York organization, and give back to an organization that gave me so much as a student and as a young woman. Um, and that's really where I see myself in the next 5 years. Is I've told my friends this. I hope that, and this is looking way into the future, I hope that I am 80 years old, decked out in a feather boa, going to the Miss New York organization competitions, and like being that crazy old woman that's just like so excited to be there. That's who I want to be.
Wait, so you will still technically still be involved somehow, some way with the Miss New York organization, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I think that's a testament to how powerful this organization is. And I always test the, I would say, goodness of an organization, or the effectiveness of an organization based on like its retention of, after people have benefited from it and leave it, because I will age out of this competition this year. After people can no longer benefit from it, like, do they still stick around? And if they do still stick around, like, that's a really good thing to see, that
That's true.
people still want to give back and still want to help out in some way.
Would you consider probably in the future running in another organization once you age out? Like, because I know there's like, and there's many other organizations out there to keep your skills going, to like help you out in the
Yeah.
future more.
I mean, there are definitely other organizations, and I think they all have their own merits and they all are great. I don't think I will do it, because personally, after this year, I'm actually looking forward to moving into a phase of my life where I can just be
Mhm.
like the stage mom backstage, and like
Ah.
cutting the bobby pins and fixing hair. Like, I'm really looking forward to that stage in my life, because I do think there comes a point where all of a sudden it turns from being like, oh, I'm the benefactor of this organization, I'm benefiting from it, to I would like to give something back. And I'm reaching that turning point where I'm like, I am so excited for this next phase of my life. I'm so excited for this next phase that I'm going into, and I can't wait to give back to the organizations and the people that helped me get here.
So, Sydney, what principles would you say you live your life by?
I live my life, as I kind of mentioned, I am a big, strong supporter of like empowering women. And so I would say that a principle that I live my life by is that we don't lose anything by lifting other people up, and we don't lose anything by giving to others. So I think that's something that I strongly live by, is just the idea that if you give, you're not losing anything because of that. If you give of your time, of your attention, of your support, I'm always willing. And I think this is a small thing, but I think it speaks to a greater philosophy. Like, I'm always willing to uplift people's posts on Instagram, or to follow pages that people are desperately trying to start, or supporting small businesses. Like, all of those little acts of kindness and of support mean the world to the people who are doing them. So in your own life, think about the small ways that you can show support for other people. And I think it can go a long way for making you feel like you're giving something just a little bit. And it can be such a small thing, but it can make such a big impact.
So on the topic of like empowering other people, like meeting, like networking, how would you say you're grateful for? How would you say you're grateful for in life?
Oh, for in terms of like people and other things that I'm grateful for, or
Yes.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that come to mind most specifically is that through the Miss New York organization last year, December 2020, I was getting really worried about the interview process for finding a summer job, because the second year of law school, your summer job is really, really important. Um, and I was getting really worried. And one of the local directors from Miss New York reached out to me, and she was like, "I'm a lawyer. What kind of work do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I was really interested in working in big law and working in New York City." And she was like, "Well, I know someone who works at this firm called Baker Hostetler. What if I put you in contact with her? You can talk about it." And I was like, "That would be amazing." And so she put me in contact with this woman. We started talking, and I actually got a summer job interview because of that connection. And then the very next day, I got a job offer for a summer job at this firm. And so I think that one of the things that I'm very grateful for is those opportunities and those connections, um, and that willingness of people to help. Because I think that people are willing to help if you're willing and willing to take the risk to ask for it. And so I think that that's something I'm so very grateful for, is people's just absolute willingness to help me. And that's one of the reasons why I'm inspired to give back, because I've been the recipient of so much good faith and goodwill.
Definitely. So, if you were to leave something in a time capsule for people to dig up 100 years later, what would you put in there and why?
Ooh, I actually, I'm debating between two things. One is a very cliche answer, so give you that one first. The very cliche answer is, I'm a huge fan of printed photographs. My mom keeps photo albums of everything. She has like 10 massive photo albums that are hidden away throughout our house, that are just filled with photos from my and my sister's childhood, which I think are really special. So I love photos. I take photos of everything. People get annoyed at me on trips and at like the Miss New York competition, because I'm like, smile, stop with the photos. But then 3 weeks later, people are like, "Oh wait, do you have those photos?" And I'm like, "Of course I have those photos." That's a really cliche answer, is like a book of photos. But I think if I could leave one thing in a time capsule, I would actually leave this mug that I love very much. It says, "Plead your case." It's from Bridgerton, the TV series,
Oh.
with the queen on it, because I think it's just I really like that show. And I feel like people in 100 years from now should watch it, because it's such a great show. But I also think it's just a fun mug. And it speaks to me being a law student, and hopefully being a lawyer, and also being a boss babe. So
breaking breaking glass ceilings.
exactly.
But other like you mentioned like a book of photos. Like would it be like similar to a scrapbook or a photo
Maybe,
album?
or the book that she has are just, they're really simple. It's just like these big photo albums that just have the little slides in them, and she just slid all these photos. And some of them, even you can like pull them out, and she had written little notes on the back of them of being like, Sid and Cam's bath time 1995. And it was
Oh,
just
that's a
like
good
a
idea.
really cute thing. Do you think that my mom was like capturing all of these moments and printing them at CVS? Like, not something we do anymore.
So is there like a specific photo that you like to put in, or it's more like general, like your childhood or like things that you've seen at like Miss America?
Yeah, I think a photo I would love to put in. I have a photo that I'm thinking of, and it's a photo of me and my soccer team. And I think I would put that photo in because it's just like it. And I would write, of course, like Miss Five Boroughs and her soccer team.
Aw.
But it's just like it was. It's always a really sweet memory. Saturdays coaching is like my favorite day of the week. It's my favorite way to start my Saturday morning. I wake up at 6 a.m. to commute from Hoboken to Yankee Stadium, which is a long commute for me, but it's so worth it to get to see them, and they're so excited to see me and to play a game that we love. And so I think that's the photo that I would put in the time capsule, as a photo of me and my team.
That's amazing. So, if you were to give any advice who for young girls or children overall that want to try pageantry or get involved with sports, what would you tell them?
I would say that at a young age, try everything and don't be afraid to look like an idiot. I think I was always afraid of looking like an idiot. And I think a lot of us are because we like get embarrassed, which is totally natural. But I think that it takes a lot of trying and it takes a lot of risk taking to find something that you love. If I hadn't been willing to put on a gown and perform my poetry for the first time, I would not be competing at Miss New York and having the time of my life and meeting some of my best friends and even having a job this summer. And so I think that you have to be willing to just try these new things and be willing to like, make a fool of yourself. But that being said, do it with a smile, do it with a laugh. As I kind of tell people, I think one of the great ways that I think about my life is like if at the end of your life you're writing an autobiography or someone is writing a biography about you, do you want it to be a biography that goes from point A to point B and that's it? No, that's a really boring biography. You want it to go to A to Z, over to maybe 2, 3, 7, back over to B. Like that's a really exciting story to feel like this person changed, this person evolved, this person decided a new thing and tried something, failed, turned around, did something different. Because those are the exciting stories that we want to read. Those are the hero stories that we cling to and love. And so if you're finding that you don't know if you should take a risk, you don't know if you should try something new, you don't know if you should go down this path, go down it. Figure out where it leads. And if you don't like where it leads, go down a different path, figure it out from there. Because I guarantee you, your story is going to be all the more exciting because you tried something new.
I couldn't agree more. So, is there anything else you'd like to add or tell our viewers? Where can our viewers find you on social media?
Oh, most definitely. So you can find me on social media as Miss Five Boroughs 20 NY. I'm on Instagram. That's pretty much my main platform of communication. I make a lot of fun Instagram reels, so those are always interesting to watch. And you can follow the Miss New York organization at Miss America NY. They'll be posting a lot before the competition as well as during the competition, and you can keep up with me and see how I do.
Well, Sydney, thank you so much for being a part of our time capsule. We hope you have a wonderful experience and best wishes during your state competition. Thank you to our viewers for watching, and please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tune in again next week to meet another amazing addition to our time capsule. See you next time.